Like, I don't need none of this shit. Don't mean nothing to me. If my son if my son got to go through the shit I went through, or my son's dying in the street trying, I ain't accomplished nothing. It ain't nothing. None of this shit. If I put myself, if I project certain shit because I really this is who I am. I never been something that I wasn't. I never tried to portray nothing I wasn't. I never was the biggest, toughest nigga, but I was just never scared of nothing. I wasn't gonna let you do nothing to me. I was gonna protect my family. I was gonna stand on whatever I stood on. That's just who I've been my whole life. So watching these young kids, the niggas that they following and shit that they glorifying now, and they dying for nothing every day, and they really think they doing something. That shit is determined to me. You know what I'm saying? I sat in cells with niggas that's never coming home. Because they was told these same lies that y'all niggas is telling these babies. And y'all leading the same babies to the hellfire. So I can't of good sound mind and just moral compass just do that. So at this point, I'm living my life, and I'm not going in the street beefing with no street niggas. Because once I do, if I beef with you and whatever come with it, I got to deal with that. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not putting myself in a position to where you could do something to me to where I gotta play a street role. I'm living my life completely according to the way God ever. Other than that, whatever comes with that, I'm willing to deal with it. You know?
Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, it's your brother Amir. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. My next guest I've known for over 20 years. Really don't need no introduction. You've seen him on the front line of some of the most controversial police brutality cases that came about in the last couple years. He's been a strong advocate for the betterment and the future of the youth, and trying to reestablish the true meaning and understanding of what it is to be a community. My brother from another mother.
Yes, sir.
My son, the General.
Peace, King. How you doing today?
Good, man. Good. Happy to have you here, man.
I'm happy to be here, beloved.
So, this is really a trade-off, you know what I'm saying? I had the pleasure of being on your show.
One of my favorite interviews.
Yeah, that was us catching up.
Mm-hmm.
But on this interview specifically, I want to kind of dig into something a little bit more deeper. Because what you stand for and what you've been advocating for, I believe that a lot of the effort, the time, the energy that you put into it is being overlooked. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times, you know, as a people, we can easily, you know, congregate and kumbaya about the problems. But when it comes time to sit at the table and talk about solutions, the ratio is not the same. And for those that are sincerely invested in the betterment of, you know, community, future of the youth, they remain seated at those tables. And to me, you know, you're definitely one of those people. So I want to give you your flowers before we even get into this.
I appreciate it.
So recently we've been talking about, you know, coward culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people take the term as you venting or showing your frustration for certain things that happen to pop up in the internet. A lot of stuff that's been glorified that definitely resonates with people who lack integrity, lack the ability to understand the value of life, you know, and more importantly, you know, how we are supposed to coexist in a society, especially when the deck been stacked against us. So, what is your definition of coward culture?
Well, my definition of coward culture is the promotion, the incentivizing, the marketing of things that go against what we supposed to do as stand-up men. You know, when you see it marketed in millions of views of young kids hitting women and laughing, right? When that's being celebrated, when, you know, in my era, like we say, mm-hmm. you couldn't do coward things and be celebrated. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't, especially if you called yourself a stand-up individual, you couldn't watch somebody do something that was cowardly, right? When we committed acts of violence, it was against somebody who actually was an equal, somebody that we felt was equal. You didn't pick on the weak,
Absolutely.
right? You didn't rob the weak. You didn't harm ladies. You didn't harm kids. It wasn't something that any stand-up individual or quote unquote supposedly stand-up individual would co-sign.
Absolutely.
So in coward culture, the individuals who are supposedly supposed to be stand-up, supposedly being praised, are the ones who is co-signing the coward activity.
Absolutely.
Right? They're standing next to people that represent things that they supposedly don't represent. And they do it because it's either financially beneficial to them, that person has a level of fame or something, and they scared to speak up. It's no more. I don't really see the men of honor being pushed to the front. I don't see men of honor being marketed and promoted. Is pretty much everyone is trying to find the most cowardly, the most simple, the most bottom feeding act they can do and promote that as what the culture should do. So in my opinion, it's creating young cowards.
Yeah.
Right? It's when you talk against something that's when I gotta sit online argue that it ain't okay for a man to hit a woman in the face with a brick.
Absolutely.
When I have to have that a million times and dudes is like, well, yeah, but it's no yeah, but bro. It's I don't care. It's nothing that a woman can say to me, especially just say.
Yeah.
That's gonna make me hit her in the face with a brick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you that weak emotionally and you don't, if you lack that type of, emotional intelligence, then you have to deal with that. But you can't try to make it normal. You can't try to make it okay. You can't try to make it the standard for men and men of any type of integrity to think it's okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much rounds about what I think it is.
No, I agree totally. Because, I mean, when I reflect on the Harlem I grew up in, I got a bunch of girls in my family. And the majority of all my scuffles was revolved around the girls in my family. Whether it's my sisters, whether it's my cousin Tiff, like whatever, it was always, because they started to develop faster at young ages. They started to have, older guys preying on them. A lot of times it was dudes that I was extremely tight with, that the moment I heard there was some discrepancy with a female in my family, our friendship got challenged without no questions. And I also come from a culture where if a woman did get out of line, which happens a lot, with women of color, with black women, they could be very vocal. Sometimes they can actually reach a level to where they seem equivalent in masculinity, to where that may trigger, an insecurity or something in a man where he might lash out physically. But for my culture, it's like, all right, stay right here. I'm going to go get my sister. You know what I'm saying? I come from that culture. I'm going to go get my sister. My sister going to drag you. Or if you get me upset to the point where I feel like I want to hit you, I see your brother, I'm just going to take off on your brother. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not here to promote no new way of, a new outlet, to violence. It's just that we did still have some type of moral understanding that you don't hit a woman. If it get down to it, it's a whole bunch of girls in my block, that fight, stab, kick, do whatever it is, bleach, whatever. It was like, and that was the extent of us trying to find, a means of retaliation for a woman who was completely out of pocket.
That's right.
But another thing is, we would never just stand around, even if it was none of our business, like a dude might be beating this girl and stuff like that. Even if just the least is to say, all right, bro, that's enough. All right, yo, you proved your point. All right, let's shorty up. Whatever the case may be, it was a certain type of moral understanding that by design, by nature as men, we were protectors. So, like you said, it's celebrated because we have a new promotional vehicle, which is social media. You know what I'm saying? Social media is the new promotional vehicle for all things. You know what I'm saying? None of these things are being documented in the streets or recorded, in a manner that we were used to, meaning like word of mouth, word travel. Those two dudes that was known for, getting down, finally bump heads. They had a scuffle. That fight would get all the way downtown, might even reach the Bronx. Dudes might even be talking about it in Brooklyn, depending on how live they was. You know what I'm saying? That was our social media. Now you have a platform that's been designed to basically highlight whatever you choose. So with that being said, like, what is your perspective on people utilizing social media to glorify these things and basically creating an audience of their own?
I think that's the problem, right? And I think a lot of times what has happened in this culture is that people have mistaken views for approval, right? People think if, just like they sign artists that he got a video that got 5 million views, and they're like, oh, people like him. Some people just watching it because it's dumb shit. Some people laughing like, yo, I can't believe he actually put this out, right? So they sign the artist thinking it's that, and then they realize nobody's going there. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just like, I've been vocal about academics, and I'm only using this because it's relevant to the situation, is that you'll go to his page and there's 5 million people there, 5 million views, but every time he put on a show, he got to cancel it because nobody's going to the show. So that means you don't have a fan base.
It's manufactured.
It means that people like to watch you because you look stupid, right? And it's free on YouTube, but nobody's going to spend their money to watch that dumb shit, right? Nobody's going to invest in that. So that's what happened with this culture, right? People started saying, I could put the dumbest shit or the most cowardly shit, and people are going to view it, right? So the intelligent minds and the older minds know that nobody's paying attention. But what happens is you molding and shaping the kids, because the kids have been taught the traction, the views, and the likes means that people are actually, this is what they want. So you got kids that you're actually manipulating. These kids is 13 and 14 thinking, I got to catch a body to give me a record deal because such and such did it, and that's how people want to get him. Yeah. So you manipulating these babies into doing all types of dumb shit that is not going to benefit them. So social media is a gift and a curse, but it's actually become more of a curse than actually a gift, because the people whose hands is in is people who normally couldn't come in rooms that we in. They couldn't even stand next to us, right? We was having this conversation. There's people who's being exalted in this culture that is actually the picture. Yeah. They might not even be the picture. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And they've been promoted as the bosses. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's also, the problem is, and I say this to all of the real dudes and the solid dudes, we can't get mad if we allowing them to utilize this platform and we not doing it. Every real dude like, I be seeing what you do, but I ain't going on social media. So what you doing is hurting me. Yeah. Right? Because if you on my page and you see 50 people telling me the shit I'm saying is stupid, and you got a voice and you got people that follow you, and you don't utilize your voice to say, nah, that's what stand-up niggas do. Yeah. It makes it look like what I'm saying is so foreign, and it's not. The world is not in agreement with it. Yeah. So we giving a false sense of reality, and we letting these babies getting raised by the worst, the bottom feeding of this culture. Yeah. So this is why I take it personal, and I've been very intentional about being on social media, because we can't keep saying y'all don't do that social media shit. Yeah. That's not working for us, because our babies do that social media shit. Absolutely. My son is on social media all day. My little kid, they on their games. I got to grab them off. YouTube. So if I don't have something that coincides with the messages and the values that I'm trying to teach them on the avenues that they use the most, then it looks like what I'm saying don't really equate to the world. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened with a lot of us when we were young. We went outside, and the shit that our mother and father was saying, it wasn't going on outside. Yeah. Right? So we was like, they don't know what they talking about. They old. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So we have to learn from that. If we don't learn from the mistakes of our own parents, right? I don't talk at my kids. Yeah. I don't speak from the place I am to my kids. I speak from where they are. Because that's how you learn. I ask them questions and let them answer it.
And that's important, because I always, I do a lot of speaking engagements where I speak to the youth. And sometimes I break my talk down in 3 segments. Like, I'll speak to the parents, then I do a separate talk with just the kids, and then I'll talk to them together. So this way now the parents got a little bit more ammunition. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm basically suiting them up so they understand that there is a wedge, there is a generational gap, you know. And most parents, because of the sophistication of social media and a lot of the stuff that they actually purchase for their kids, they don't really have no real extensive knowledge or understanding of what they actually, you know, contributing to. Because they're thinking that, okay, I'm rewarding my child for doing the things that I asked of them as a parent. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you know, they're a part of a certain society where there's like a second set of teachers out there. You know what I mean? I may be instilling certain morals and stuff in my home that I pray every day that they follow and hold to a T.
That's right.
But a lot of the parents don't realize that they actually contribute to the detriment that comes back into the house because you gave them the gateway or a key to a whole nother world where they're going to be, you know, influenced in that impressionable state. So for me, it's like, I remember like the elders, like you said, stand-up guys, not getting out of the way, but getting in the way. You know what I'm saying? Because in our communities, we never really worried about police. You know what I'm saying? We always worried about the people in the community because we had men in our community. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then you might get an old head pull you up like, listen, come here, man, let me talk to you for a minute. And we'll abandon our crew in a heartbeat. Never no disrespectful stuff. Hey, old head, I don't want to talk to you. None of that. It's like, old head don't even talk to nobody. You know what I'm saying? He's still dealing with his troubles. He's still dealing with the carnage he left behind in his 70s. You know what I'm saying? We know the story of some of the old heads in our communities that live in a bottle or may have, you know what I'm saying, fell victim to drugs, whatever case may be. We've heard the stories, you know what I'm saying, who they were prior to that. So when one of them actually come out of that stupor and say, hey, young boy, come here for me, let me talk to you. Hey, listen, man, you know if you go jump off a bridge, all them little boys is with you, they gonna jump off the bridge with you? He be looking like, what you mean? Because we think we all equivalent. You know what I'm saying? We discover leadership.
That's right.
As kids, we don't really know that I'm the leader.
And you don't even believe it
when
you first discover it.
Yeah, because it's like you might have somebody that you revere in the crew that you may think may be more suitable because you've seen certain, you know, displays of his courage and stuff when they came down to heated situations. But in all actuality, you be the one that actually, you know what I'm saying, is more poised, think more, and everyone around you may pretend to be smart, but know you the smartest. And old cats see that a mile away.
That's right.
And they'll pull you up and let you know, like, listen, man, why don't you like take them out, you know what I'm saying, PAL or something? Why you know what I'm saying, why you out here and got them like woo woo woo? And you start learning things. I think this generation, like you said, a lot of stand-up men, and not just for you. Anybody that's standing on any type of moral practice that preceded this generation, we should be aided. You know what I'm saying? There should be a certain level of support. People should hasten to get on board when those pinnacle moments come where there can be a shift in the narrative only if we speak up. If we don't speak up, what happens is you validate it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? If you remain silent, you validate it.
That's right.
That's like a silent approval.
That's right.
You know, so I definitely agree that, you know, there's a lot of work to do, you know, for us who have survived, you know, a very tumultuous generation, speaking on the 80s, 90s, whatever the case may be. And we should definitely, you know, step to the plate and try to, like, you know, lead these kids into a, you know, a better space. So I want to ask you, like, you know, based on all these things we discussing, like, I'm pretty sure you've probably pondered and contemplated about solutions to these situations over and over again. And let's say, if you was to have your way, as far as resources, everything you needed to actually instill some type of programming or some type of structure or foundation that you think would contribute to changing the whole paradigm of what's going on in our culture today, what would be like, what would be your first step?
Well, the first step, I just got the proof back from my new book that's called Raising Kings, and it's the 10 Principles of Manhood. Right? I think in our communities there should be rite to passage. There should be elders, leaders, credible messengers, people who have certain levels of intellect, knowledge, skills, whether it be street knowledge. All of those things should be in one room, molding our young kings. Right? Mm-hmm. There should be programs in our schools. We should have, recreation centers where, because a lot of these women are single mothers, right? Mm-hmm. And they need to be able to bring them to men. They need to be able to bring their kids to men, and there should be certain centers that set up where there are men that's qualified to teach other men how to be men, mm-hmm. right? And we also, like I said, we have to utilize these same platforms that they're using to tell us to kill each other. Mm-hmm. We got to use them to tell us to love each other, mm-hmm. right? And we got to utilize. That's why I started the Boycott Black Murder campaign. It's like, I know a lot of these rappers and brothers from the community, because we was young. We understood we had to say certain shit that we didn't want to, or that's what they was into. Mm-hmm. But the same way, we can acknowledge that an actor goes to work and he does his job, and Al Capone and Al Pacino and them go home and they raise their family properly. We have to have those same asks and demands of our artists, mm-hmm. right? So you can rap. I can't tell you what to say in raps. I hope as at a point you evolve, you start evolving as you know better, and you start putting more tangible messages that's going to lead these kids, into the right direction. But in real life, you got to go back to them communities and tell them kids to love each other, right? You got to show them something different. Like your music videos, and you can do all that, but in real life, us as men, we got to demand that if you got these kids following you and they listening to you on these rappers and you tell them to drill, you got to come back to these hoods and tell them, nah, this is what we went through. I want you to change that. I want y'all to love each other. Mm-hmm. And that's how you got to live in your real life. And we got to start demanding shit like that. We can't just hope you do it. Because you can't feed off the community and bleed us dry and then leave these kids to kill each other, and you ain't doing nothing. And while you raising your kids in Beverly Hills and they going to private schools, that's not going to be okay with us.
But see, a lot of these kids don't plan past the stoop. You know what I'm saying? And it's like many of us that come from these inner cities, we really want to just be hood hot. We really want to be recognized in our own community. We really want to start Quasia. I've been watching her since 5th grade. I've been dying to get with her. She was probably like one out of the few girls that had the long, pretty hair. Like, this is kind of like how short range our view of success is. So I agree. At some point, there has to be something put in place to help kind of like manage and govern that point where these successes are being obtained. Because if it snowballs into something big, this kid don't know nothing else to do. He gonna stick to the same regiment, And even if he is trying to make certain adjustments in his personal life, he doesn't really know, the responsibility that comes with, the impact of what he's doing. Because it starts off as something small and ends up big. And, I'm definitely a testament to that because, and you've been in the music business as well. It's like we had an objective, was to escape the harsh realities that we live in. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get our moms their house. We wanted to do all those things to make things right for the people who was there when times wasn't so sweet. But when that happens, we bankrupt. We don't have another plan. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Now you're rubbing shoulders with a circle of people who only admire you because of your accomplishments. And a part of us gets sucked into that because we actually think it's real. We actually think it's real. We think that, I've graduated to another echelon or barometer, of characters, individuals, a certain circle of success that based on what I did, I'm admitted to this circle now, and the circle that I had before becomes, something
Absolutely.
Yeah, obsolete. So I'm a firm believer at trying to manage when those pivotal moments happen, and where do us as elders, where do we like jump in? Like, where do we start getting invested and getting involved? That's a question.
I think, I mean, I think as wise counsel, we just have to be mindful and pay attention. Like, right, it's no exact moment. There's no, because all kids are not able or even willing to listen at certain times. So just like the old heads, when we used to, they knew when the person to talk to, who to pay attention. Sometimes the person that you need to talk to ain't the person you can talk to. Sometimes he got a friend that you could talk to that might be wiser than him. That's gonna listen to you, but he got his ear. So sometimes you got to go that route. You know what I'm saying? So we just got to figure out. But we have to be intentional, and that's one thing that I loved about the Nation of Islam. Right? When we was growing up, I watched the Nation grab the least of these, the dudes that was all the way confused doing this, and they worked with you slowly but surely, and you seen it transform. I've seen and they did it with artists too. Like, it was certain artists that you would just be confused, and next thing you know, they was with the Nation, and then they was changing the perspective. Even with Cube and all that, you watched how certain perspectives start changing. I think since not taking anything away from religion, religion is a thing, and each of us has to get to a stage where we're ready for religion, right? But I think if we had that same concept that wasn't religion based, but it had the same morals and moral structure that prepares you for religion, right? That once you get that moral structure, then you actually can embrace religion that much more, because you realize that it's connected to you, right?
Well, I think that when people understand the basis of religion, so just to add to your point, like, growing up in Harlem, once upon a time, I did see the impact that the Nation had, you know what I'm saying, from a nationalist perspective. It's like they understood their community. They understood the plights. They understood, those adverse situations that were prevalent in the community. And yes, they were definitely suitable at the time to be able to step in and rectify a lot of those affairs. But when you get to the point of religion, and I'm speaking for Islam, there's definitely some difference between the Nation and actual Muslims. Islam is a knowledge-based religion, you know what I'm saying? And for example, you have a hadith or a narration from the Prophet, peace be upon him. He said that every man is a shepherd and every man will be held accountable for his flock. So in this hadith, it establishes accountability. Accountability is something that's taught in religion. You know what I'm saying? It's not a separate thing. It's taught, accountability is taught that every man is responsible for his flock. And Islam also establishes, the rights upon everything. Women got rights. Children got rights. Animals got rights. We don't even slaughter animals in front of each other. You know what I'm saying? It's that serious. Like, a lot of people don't understand, like, the concept of halal meat is the way it's slaughtered. You mention the name of God, you slaughter the animal. The animal continues to graze, just gradually gets fatigued, lay down, go to sleep, calm, not bashing it in the head. And even if you, like, pull an animal, when they tug a little bit, you gotta let it go and get another one. So it's like we're taught that every living creature has rights, and how we function in that society is a testament of our faith. We believe in these things based upon even the modesty that's practiced with women, which is another thing I want to get into you as well. But I do agree that there has been numerous efforts, whether it's the Black Panthers, even if you think of some of the gangs that evolved, their initial purpose and reason was to help govern and police the neighborhood.
That's right.
Then another wave came behind them, and they exploited that, you know what I'm saying, that blueprint or that roadmap, and turned it into tyranny,
Yeah.
you know, power grabs and all kinds of stuff like that. So when you think of harmony and unity as a whole, right? Do you believe that every race has a seat at the table, or is it something just exclusive to our people?
I think it has to be every race of the team when you think of harmony as a whole, right? But I also believe that we can't unify with anything until we unify with each other, right?
I agree.
Because everybody else is unified with them. They're unified within their own thing, so they could come to the table full and whole and say, let's unify. We've been so dismantled and, distracted and separated that we can't even come under any guise or any one thing other than trauma. Okay. We don't unite under anything other than trauma, and that's because of, the years of what we've been through. People can't, you have a million black people to tell you, I'm not this, I'm not black, I'm this, I'm not that, I'm not African, I'm American, I'm this and that. We can't even understand one nationality, just our identity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So being stripped of that, and that's going to take, so that's why I'm saying the unification of black people is going to be, it is going to be very intense. It's going to take more than the average person. And that's why when you look at black people struggle, they say black people aren't a monolith. We aren't, because we don't even understand our own culture and our own beginning to come under one monolithic thing. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that, like you said, unity is definitely going to take all of us, because, when you look at it all, when we look at the grand scheme of this unity, it just means togetherness.
See, that's what I think was so extraordinary about Malcolm X, in contrast to the nation and then actual Islam, is that, Malcolm was 10 toes down when it came to the ideology of the Nation of Islam, that self-empowerment, you know what I'm saying, establishing our identity, our purpose, our purpose of belonging, all of those things, those moral things that were needed at the time because of the disenfranchisement, because of all, the oppression and all of the things that traumatized us as a people. But then when he made the pilgrimage to Mecca, he was able to see diversity. He was able to see that there were, all walks of life standing under one banner, that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, or but God alone, and that Muhammad was the messenger of Allah. And that created the discord and split from a nationalist movement to him trying to establish a movement moving towards, listen, what we're seeking, it doesn't really just reside on our shoulders, because that's another thing that comes with the trauma that we bear. We want to be responsible for things that actually aren't our responsibility, And we have this crab in a barrel mentality, but at the same time, we don't want to leave no man behind. It's kind of crazy, you know what I'm saying? It's like we fight, claw and scratch with each other, but at the same time, we don't want to leave each other behind, And I think that, what I've learned, in these past almost 15 years by traveling the world, I learned more about my country from outside my country. And I tell people this all the time. I learned so much more about my country, my plight, everything. These are all the things that led to me accepting this belief. And I think one of the things that used to be very impactful for us when we was young, when we had fresh air fun. Remember, you could take a kid out of the city, take them to a farm, and they would come back and talk about that story the whole summer. To the point some of your homeboys get jealous. Like, man, I don't want to hear nothing about you riding no horse no more, man. You keep talking about the horse. You keep talking about you was feeding chickens. Like, yo, I'm tired of hearing all that. Is we going over here steal his car? Or is we going over here, you know what I'm saying, the shorty crib that, you know, play fair with everybody? Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of these things been stripped. A lot of these things been removed, you know. And I honestly believe that the opportunities for us as a people are there. I think we have more of a responsibility and a duty to start steering towards the opportunities and not try to salvage or save, you know, the whole traumatic situation in one fell swoop. We have to actually start directing towards the opportunities, you know. And I think as men of integrity, women as well, you know, anyone that understands clearly what the opportunity is, they'll seize it. If they understand what the opportunity is. Because some of us don't even know opportunity if it smack us in our face. And that's another, you know, thing that contributes to some of our trauma. We don't even know when we're being helped. We don't know when someone's trying to help us. We don't understand that sometimes there are people who may not have, you know, may have experienced an inkling of what you've been through, but understand it's wrong and want to extend the courtesy, you know. And it was, you know, I had an interview with a phenomenal dude, Andre Norman. He said that, you know what I'm saying, that the absence of his father made him reject other help because he felt like that seat belonged to his father. You understand? And that was like very profound to hear, because, you know, we are looking for those things. We're looking for things to fill the voids in our life. You know what I'm saying? But in most cases, we're looking in the wrong places. So based on that, who do you deem to be suitable? You know what I'm saying? We just talking from a general sense. What is the ideal leader that should be implanted in black communities, brown communities throughout the nation? What does this guy look like?
I don't know if it's a guy. I don't know what it looks like. What I know is that I think it has to be shared leadership. Right? I
agree.
Because there are so many different ideologies and understandings, right? I think when I always talk about movements, I talk about the Wu-Tang Clan. Right? I'm like, I want Boycott Black Murder to be the Wu-Tang Clan of, you know, community activism or stopping nonviolence. Because people identify with different ones. Like if you ask 10 different people about who their favorite person in the Wu-Tang Clan, you're gonna get a different answer
every time.
Right? So basically, and this is why pretty much they were the biggest group ever, because there was somebody for everybody. If you didn't like Method Man, then you love Raekwon. If you ain't like Raekwon, you thought Genius was dope. You know what I'm saying? You thought somebody was dope in it. So it brought way more people to the table. So
Absolutely.
I think one leader, especially
That's
amongst
a good
us,
point.
you know what I'm saying? So I think one leader, especially amongst us, we never gonna agree with that. Cause I'm gonna have my point like, well, he don't do it like this, and you're gonna be like, well, he don't do it like this, and we're gonna keep going. So if we got, you like him, okay, I like him, and we pick 5, 6, and we create like this united front of leadership and wise counsel that comes, you know, to understanding based on what the community and what the unified front of us and what our needs are, not only our needs, our wants, all of those things, and we come under that situation. I think that's what it's gonna look like leadership for us. You know, I think, and it's gonna take time, because we've been individualized so much. That's why the crab in the barrel, because we've been taught me first. Yeah. Like, you know, even when we talk about the situations with the women and men, dude, like, I'm not jumping out the window for her. I'm worried about my family. And we don't see each other all as family. Yeah. Right? So when you don't see everybody as all as family, then it's hard for you to do anything unified. Because I'm worried about me and the 2 people I came here with.
Yeah.
I ain't if you over there, I'm not trying to go over to save you. I'm not trying to do all that because that's not my direct, that's not my direct responsibility in my mind, right? So until we start seeing us as our responsibility, it's gonna be tough for us to even find leadership or unity.
I'm gonna tell you a very, very compelling verse in the Quran where Allah mentions save yourself and save your family. Right? Save yourself and save your family. This comes as the most permissible form of selfishness that still has virtue. Because if you think about it, if all of us did that, right? If all of us did what was necessary to save ourselves from the things that, been prescribed as prohibited, or any command that God has given us to abstain from, if we all saved ourselves from these things and instilled those things in our family, then based on that principle, you would have your community. There's another statement from one of the Tabi'een. He was from one of the virtuous generation of Muslims. He said, your neighbors are 40 homes in front of you, 40 homes behind you, 40 to your right and 40 to your left. So when you try to encompass the range, that's prescribed as a community, could you imagine 40 homes this way, 40 homes this way? That means your children would be able to function, more than just a 1 block radius. Because many of us grew up just on one particular block. Now, if you had an aunt that lived 5 blocks down, maybe you can move 5 blocks that way, and whatever, a reputation or characteristic that your aunt or your family that 5 blocks down, upheld, then it gave you safe passage to be able to travel from the distance where your grandmother lived to your aunt lived, or where your uncle lived to your father lived, and so on and so forth. And that's why I say, when we look at structure, I believe it's already put in place. And this is why, a lot of people have shown a lot of inclination to Islam, even if they don't accept it as their faith. They're able to extract certain things that contribute to what we need as a people, as a community, and to pretty much rectify a lot of the affairs that we deal with in this society that we live in. So what I want to pivot to now, because we talked a little bit about this as far as politics. It's not my field of expertise. As a citizen, we have to show some level of, interest just to basically suffice, what's going on around us, what's going to be impactful to our lives. And we was talking about the interview that the guy Larry Elder had, on the Breakfast Club. And I think it turned into something very interesting. I want to revisit that because I'm not a fan of Democrats, Republicans, and I just want that to be known. You know what I'm saying? I understand and accept that there's a constitutional law put in place, but I also believe that it's designed to serve a certain purpose. You know what I'm saying? And based on that, I find it very, very hard to believe that the system that's put in place can actually act as a means to rectify the affairs of our people in this country. So every time election comes around, you have someone that can actually speak to the problems, that resonates with the people, that he's, aware or cognizant of some of the issues that take place in our community, and we run to it like sheep, But in this particular interview, he mentioned a lot of things that kind of alluded talking about the problems. He kind of, mentioned more about, operating in a capacity of understanding what's in place, how we've evolved as a people, how we've ended up in positions of influence that we probably never would have maybe 50, 60 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When he started mentioning about some of the most major cities in the United States have black mayors. We have, heads of Fortune 500 companies that are black. We got Jaylen Brown just signed the biggest NBA contract in history. We have a lot of things that we can actually gravitate to and be proud of. But it seems like we keep trying to find, solace in the problems.
But and you named all those things. You know how much 100 years, what percent of wealth we were in this country? 2%.
Mm-hmm.
You know what percent we are now? 2%.
Mm-hmm.
We is a false sense of reality that we think, right? Because like you said, social media and all these things, they give you able to visibly see these. There was black millionaires and there was black wealth all the time. We never represented more than 2%, even when we was 20% of the population. We had about 14 now, and we still only represent 2% of wealth in this country. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about politics and when I talk about Larry Elder went up there and made a lot of good points. He talked about us doing for self and us not acknowledging what the problems are and just focus on those things. But then when they wouldn't put him on the stage, right? When he did all the things that was necessary and he deemed himself worthy to sit on the stage at the Republican thing, they didn't let him do it. And then he utilized the same ideology that he shot down, right, to say why he wasn't up there. So we always gonna go back to the same thing. We can sit there as this is what happened, just like Omarosa when she was in the White House. She was going for Trump. I'm with Trump. Racism don't exist. None of this happens. When she actually gets in a position, right, and she sits around with all these white and they show her that racism exists, they come back and say y'all was right. Yeah. So my thing is, I don't. It's like Dr. King said, it's a very strange thing to tell. It's good to tell every man that he should pull himself up by his bootstraps, but it's a very cruel joke to say that to a man with no boots, right? So the reality is most people don't have boots. So we having these conversations with niggas that don't. You tell them, you can do on your own. I can say that from a position of privilege, but I know when I go back in the community, 9 out of 10 niggas don't have the opportunities or the knowledge or understanding that I have. So when you speak of Tim Scott and Larry Elder and them, they know how to say all that shit. They went to Harvard. They got opportunities. They said, well, I did it. You can too. But we keep saying that. But why only 1 or 2 of us actually do it, right? It can't be as either. It's 2 things. Either we innately dumber and slower than everybody else, or the structure that's set in place ain't really working for us the same way it's working for everybody else.
I got another perspective. I think that there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on when it comes to us as a people, And then, when this became like a blatant reality to me, in prison.
Yeah.
In prison. Like, you'll get a guy to get a job at the laundry. He ain't the same dude on the yard no more. Like, the dude you was when you didn't have no gig. You know what I'm saying? When you was waking up, doing 1,000 burpees, all that, you was a convict. Now you get a gig folding clothes, like $30 a month. And then, Unicorn. They were the triple-digit dudes. You know what I'm saying? That was the biggest salary you can get on the yard. The Unicorn. All of them switched up soon as they got the job because the list used to be so long to get approved for a spot at Unicorn. And the minute they get a job, it's like bidding is off limits now.
That's what white supremacy does. That's the structure. That's the system. See, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not racism.
But my question is, I mean, cut you off.
Okay.
But how do you correct that? Because, I mean, is definitely to add to that statistic. If we was 100 years ago at 2%, here we go fast forward 100 years later with all of the opportunities, all of the successful black people that came, to fruition, all of the people that emerged in all these different prominent, positions. To still be at 2%, is that just based on the ratio of wealth that, has came about 100 years later? Or are we doing better than we were today than we were then?
I would say we actually doing worse because we were way more unified then, right? Before we wanted to build things in unison. We had Black Wall Street. We had 10 and 15 millionaires that want to sit down and say we gonna build something for us, right? And they destroyed it, but we don't even have that no more. We don't have. I sit there and say, if you look at these billionaires we got, why y'all not? Kanye sat there and had a whole rant about what these people was doing to him, but you had $1 billion, Kanye. Why you didn't build the shit that you telling us that you can't get? Why you didn't sit down with 5 or 6 more billionaires and build your own of that? The same way Sway told you to do it, right? Because you don't want to do that, right? Because you want to be able to say, I got more than everybody. You want to be the sole billionaire and trillionaire and look down on everybody. This is where the problem is. So when we look at them, you don't even know who they billionaires. You got to look in books to find out who the white people that got money. But what they do is they pass that down for generations. They got their families, their whole block, right? They don't move out the hood. They don't move, when they get millions, they don't move off their block to go live with somebody else. Yeah. Right? We fact. Get millions and leave. Why we don't get millions and come change them same hoods into our blocks? Because that's where all our people is at. So you move, what you do is you separate yourself from your people, you isolate yourself, and you fit into their structure. And
you take the wealth out the community.
You take the wealth out the community, and then you make yourself feel like you better than everybody else, or these people can't fit in here. I can't even bring them here because they're going to mess up my shit. If I bring them around these white people, they don't even know how to talk the same way. I learned how to talk. I'm more educated. I'm more sophisticated. Instead of saying, yo, you know what? I got $1 billion. This whole project, if I could take the project and tell everybody to give me $100, I'm gonna put the money up. This whole block where all these other people own these stores, we're gonna buy these stores, right? So now Miss Joanne's son got a job, he ain't gotta stay on the corner. We gonna take first 200 people that put their money in, and we gonna open up these stores, and one of our kids gonna get jobs there. Yeah. And we're gonna teach the kids how to run whatever thing. We're gonna plant our own food. We don't have that ideology, and that comes from white supremacy. It comes from the master's house, right? The house nigga in the field nigga. When the house nigga got in the house, Mr. Charlie do good by us. He ain't want nobody else coming in that house with him. He looked, he was like, damn, they out there in that thing. Don't go over there talking like that to Mr. Charlie. Just calm down. So it's the same ideology. That's why when people say, yo, it's us. No, bro, it's white supremacy got you thinking that you can't bring your brother with you somewhere. It's white supremacy that you don't want to sit and discuss plans that you just made $1 million on the stock market and you ain't grabbing 10 niggas and saying, yo, look at this money over here. And we ain't got to do no, you'll bring your brother to a crime. You're going to go get 10 niggas and you're going to say, we're going to rob the bank. Right? Because you don't want to take that risk. But when there's no risk involved and nobody ain't going to die and nobody ain't going to go to jail, you ain't sitting at the same table with them same individuals. I agree. And that's created by white supremacy. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to tell. When we talk about Republicans and Democrats, it's not even the party thing for me. It's this. Just like Larry Elder. Larry Elder's going to run for president as a Republican. He's going to get 0.1% of the vote because the white people in the party that you're going through don't even respect you. So why would I be a part of a party where I only represent 1%? You probably got 5 Republican people that's black that you know of, that you even heard of, that got voted into office. And most of them went to Ivy League schools. They cool with Jim. I know his mother, Mitch McConnell's son, Daniel Cameron, his son-in-law. So these black people have been picked. They've been selected. That's the only reason they in that Republican Party. And they come there with the story and say, I was in the projects, and you got Candace Owens that sit in rooms full of white people and tell you everything that black people doing wrong. Never go into black people rooms and try to help them do something right, but you sit in rooms with thousands of black people and talk of white people and tell us how we did it all right. It's because they're going to jail, you're having single babies, and you're doing this, and you got welfare. Why you ain't going to the places where that's happening, trying to help those women change those realities? So this is what the Republican Party does, and the Democratic Party is people who don't really have the means to change, right? They don't even own most of the wealth, but they get funded by some of the people you talking about that actually want to be allies. So they get funded, and they control our communities to a certain degree, but they don't let you get power outside of those real communities that you inside of, right? So you influence those communities, and then when you actually try to really make change, like we was talking about certain laws, and you put real laws that's going to immediately eradicate and change, the financial state and the real abilities of our communities, the Republicans say, we're not passing that law. Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way I'm doing that. Yeah. And then people say, you can't even get the laws passed. And the Republicans come and they take them same laws, they gut them shits out, and they give you 1% of that, and then you say, yo, gee, that's why I'm gonna be a Republican, but they never gonna vote you in over there. I watch some of the smartest black kids that come from our communities that thought they had it, and they went and ran over there and they get 1% of the vote because them people don't even respect you. So we caught in a quagmire here. We got to create our own shit.
Yeah.
We got to build our own shit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going. There's no way that I'm going to vote for a party where I know, like I say all the time, niggas say what they want. Every Trump supporter is not a racist, but every racist is a Trump supporter. That is a fact. That is 100% a fact. I'm not making some shit up. I've watched niggas that had Trump hats, and when we was for Breonna Taylor, them niggas had guns and Trump hats and told us they'll kill us.
Wow.
So these is realities that I'm dealing with. So when niggas talking to me about shit, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not gonna argue about you. Yeah, Trump gave us. Of course he did. It's like the nigga you rob a bank with a nigga. This is the mentality. I've been in the streets and I just been studying this shit so long. I remember I used to go rob video games with my friend. I was 13 years old. We used to pop the video games. Yeah. He playing the games. We in the back. We take all the quarters out the game. We was on 42nd Street, nigga. We used to leave with probably like $2,000-$3,000 out. He was 4 or 5 years older than us. Yeah. And we leave the game. We happy. I'm 13, 11. That nigga would take hands full of quarters and throw the shits in the street. Yeah. And we would grab them. And I would leave with like $50, $60. Yeah. And that nigga left with the whole book bag full of the quarters. Yeah. And we thought we got some. Yeah. And niggas was like, yo, look, I got 30. I'm going to video games. Me and my friends, we 11. We really thought we did something. Yeah. So when Trump said, yo, I'm going to give you niggas PPP loans, go ahead. We over here with these big schemes over here. 90% of y'all going to go to jail for that. Or y'all going to get y'all going to open up some shit that you can't afford anyway. You're going to end up giving it back to the government. Go ahead. Y'all don't know what to do with that money anyway. We're going to give you a little bit of money. Niggas said, my niggas was eating with Trump. 50% of y'all going to jail. 50% of y'all now got a lifestyle that you can't even live up to because you done spent that $100,000. Now you out here robbing and stealing. They know these jails gonna fit in. He just put 20 new judges that's gonna lock you up for the same shit that he gave you the money for because he know that you gonna, after it's gone, you're gonna go commit crimes. So you ain't even seeing the play. He just got 20 new judges that's anti-everything, that's taking shit back from us. The same shit you saying he did, he put 20 more judges. Okay, we let y'all out for drugs. Now if a nigga get caught with a gun that even look like it's a gun, he doing 40 and 50 years. We locking, it's automatic. We locking y'all niggas up. All the other drugs, okay, yeah, y'all can do that for a minute, but now it's hard drugs again. Oh shit, this heroin is out here. Fentanyl, niggas is getting 70 years for fentanyl now. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So niggas don't understand the games they running on us. Yeah. It's a bait and switch. And I've just studied this shit long enough, so I understand to pull your shit up, and we can do for ourselves. We can, but we have to really sit and be completely understanding of what the whole shit is going on, and not just some of it.
You know what I think? You know, everything you said is definitely empowering because I know where you came from. You know what I'm saying? And to hear that you evolved to understanding, you know, not just the responsibility, but the ramifications that come with advocating for change, you know. And it's like, where do you go from this point? You know what I'm saying? Where do you go from this point? How do you do the knowledge transfer? Because you're transferring knowledge from one place to another place. You know what I'm saying? For the embedment of the community. One thing that's funny, like when I was young, you remember when David Dinkins was the mayor? And right before he got out of office, he gave all the game up. All those wartime buildings, just $10 million and all that. They started off in the auction for $1. Told all of us before he got out of office. I remember when I was a kid, I used to see all the charter buses come through with white people. And we used to throw bottles at them and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like instinctively we knew they were shopping. Because when as a kid, you start realizing they coming through, but they never getting out. They always drive by, but y'all never getting out. You know what I'm saying? And then y'all going like all the premier spots. Y'all going down Strivers Road. Y'all might park in 139th Street, but y'all never get out. And it's like y'all looking at all of these properties. You know what I'm saying? That today, Harlem is like they trying to turn it into what is it? Whole soul or something like that. No soul, North soul, like something like
Yeah,
that.
they call it what is it?
Cause Soho is south.
Sobro or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
some crazy stuff, and it's like, yo, I remember these times when, once again, there were moments where we had opportunities, you know what I'm saying, to basically look at our situation and switch gears. So what I'm getting at is education is key. You know what I'm saying? Education is key. I mentioned this numerous times, the statement of Imam al-Bukhari. He said, you know, knowledge precedes speech and actions. There's a verse in the Quran where Allah says, know that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, then seek forgiveness. And how we understand that is that he put knowledge first. Know first, seek forgiveness afterwards. Know first who your Lord. Know the one that you actually seeking refuge and seeking forgiveness from. So all of this is a testament that knowledge precedes our statements and our actions. Mm-hmm. So without that, we become a nation of people who speak out of turn. We act off emotion, you know what I'm saying? And there's no knowledge to support or sustain any of, you know what I'm saying, our progress. Mm-hmm. So what would be ideal for you, you know what I'm saying, in regards of the knowledge transfer?
I think for me, right, I spoke at the Million Man's March, right, mm-hmm. the 20th anniversary, mm-hmm. and the words resonated with a lot of people. It's like one of the first main stages I got on that people worldwide was like, yo, I heard what you said, and it really touched me, right? And then from there, you know, I have a relationship with Minister Farrakhan where we've talked a lot, and, you know, and one of the things he said was, we did the Million Man March, we did that, it's over. What are y'all gonna do with the next generation? How are you gonna take even the mistakes that we made and change that and build on what we did? Because we brought 2 million people there. They wanted to hear what we had to say, right? So I think for me, it's creating the Million Kings March, right? It's creating that and leaving with tangible things, right? It's making things tangible, not just saying we doing words. It's galvanizing those people, because those people turn into votes, right? They turn into votes. If we talking about creating our own party and creating something that resembles us, you get all of the people. That's why when people say, yo, marching don't help, I'm like, when you go to a march, you identify an ally, right? You don't know, that person don't know that you think the same way he think. He don't know that you want the same. So when you sitting there and there's 50,000 people and y'all got on there for one thing, then you like, damn, these are people that potentially that are my allies to do what I need to do. There's so many people that's disgusted with the government, and you know, and people say we're gonna create this, we're gonna create this, we're gonna do this. If we know the things that we want as one people, and we come together, and we create that base, we can build our own government, right? When you got millions of people that want one thing, you force the government into saying, yeah, these people got to be reckoned with. When you start taking that data and then you start utilizing that data, not just to send an email, but saying, look, we having a meeting with 1,000 people in your city today. We having a meeting with 1,000 people in your city. Like I literally got a meeting set up for 1,000 men only, because that's why I brought this boycott black murder. I don't give a fuck about no jury, but I understand these kids do, right? I know they like shit that's shiny. So if I'm trying to get the minds of these kids, I'm trying to pay attention, then you got to appeal to them. So y'all like the chain, cool. It's a conversation piece. Yeah, this boycott black murder, what does it stand for? This is what it is. I need you to come to this meeting. Now you look like they want to, because that's how, when I started hustling because I seen the nigga had the chain I had, he had the girl I had, and he had the car I had. And I said, bro, how I get that?
Yeah, the car you
know
wanted.
what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, that I wanted. I mean, the car, all this stuff that I wanted.
I got you.
My fault. But he had the things that I wanted. So I went to him, I wanted to know how to get it. And he said, well, this is what I did. Yeah. Right? But don't do what I did, but don't. Yeah, man, I'm going to.
It's over.
It's over. I'm going to figure this out. You ain't got to give me no packs, nigga. I know I'm going to figure it out myself. So now we got to use that same strategy to make them do the positive things. Yo, how you get that? Yo, This is boycott black murder. The real gangsters is the ones who save their community. The real gangsters is the ones that when the ladies walk by, they feel safe.
Yeah.
When you out there, that's what gangsters. Anybody can shoot somebody and hurt somebody, but the real gangster can stop somebody from getting. That's when you got respect. Yeah. When your word means so much that you can stop two people that want to beef, then you really respect it. The rest of that shit is easy. You can shoot it. Anybody could do that. Most of the niggas that I know that shot somebody was cowards. They were scared of the person. That's why they shot him, because they were scared to fight him.
Yeah.
So when you start building that, and that's what our community start building on. Once we start retraining what men look like, what it is, and then now we start educating. Okay, now we want to own the block. You really want to own the block? Hustling on the corner ain't own the block. This dude right here, he just came from out of town. He got a store. He don't live here. He just came here with 5 people. They got on a boat. He got more than you. They got 4 or 5 stores. They slept in that store for 2 years in the back. And then they got 5 stores. And you've been living here your own life and you ain't did nothing. Yeah. So when you start teaching them that, when that's what it's tangible things, and then you start showing them, look, we're gonna open this store. All right, this is how you do it. So it got to be tangible things. These kids, you can't just tell them anything no more. They want to see it. They want to see you put it into action. So it's a bunch of, we got a lot of social media influencers that can talk and all that, and they're going to get you for a while, and them kids going to listen to you because it's cool for a while, it's trendy, but where's the action? What have you done to actually change something? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm about. I'm about tangible things that I can show you. Look, this is what I did, and this is what you can do. So that's what it is for me. First, I'm doing these meetings. We doing the first meeting in October. I'm going to do it state to state. And then after we do a state to state, we're going to do the Million Kings March. And at the Million Kings March, we're going to have real tangible things. We're going to have people who credible in their communities. We want you to be a part of that. So we're going to come to your community and help you set up shop the same way everywhere else. And we're going to get funding. We're going to be able to fund ourselves because they're going to see that it is. Because if they funding people that ain't really doing nothing but talking, why you ain't going to fund the people that's actually doing the things? Yeah. Right? And we funding ourselves and we putting our own money where our mouth is. We ain't asking you to put your money with something that we ain't willing to do it. Yeah. So it's a step-by-step plan. It's first unifying, then we can teach. But we got to be unified first.
That's a fact. Yeah, I really appreciate this conversation, man.
All the time, man.
We gonna have to recap this.
Listen, we could do this. You know, me and you can sit and talk. This man called me at 7 o'clock in the morning, made me miss. I almost got a ticket messing with him. We just on the phone for like hour and change, just because that's what it is, man. When it's like mine and his brothers that have on the same page, and we really, really 10 toes down about what we say we is. Like I know this is who you are. That's why I don't have no problem doing whatever you need me, whatever it is, because you stand on what you stand on. You're a man of principles. Like I watch you can make a 360 and completely stand on that. Where you watch another dude, they're like, yeah, I'm just trying. I've watched other dudes went to religion and all type of thing and seen it was just, that was something to do. Yeah. But that ain't something to do for you. And I love this. And this is who you are. And you really an example of what manhood looks like. So I just want to give you your flowers, King.
I appreciate that. And I definitely want to support you because I feel like, it's needed. It's really needed, man. And
you ain't going to have no choice. This is what we doing.
Yeah.
You going to be one of the first people I call. You know that.
Say less. You called me for the bike rally when I came home.
That's
Had me pedaling 13 miles.
Yo, my legs was
fresh out the poker.
Fire. Fire.
And then you want to stay up there and talk.
They forced me to talk, man.
Yeah.
Forced me to.
But everything you said was impactful, man. I appreciate you, man. I really do, man. May Allah guide you and rectify all your affairs. And you got a beautiful family, and I know you gonna protect them with every fabric of your life. But I also want to honor you because I know you're willing to do the same for somebody else's family. And I hope people start to recognize that.
And I wanted to say, what you were saying was 100% right. Protect your family.
Yeah.
But once my family is protected, right, I still should go out and try to save somebody. Exactly. My family first.
Yeah.
But if somebody else is out there, my family's already protected, then that's the extension of my family.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. My God.